Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to have you all here today. And as the lead partner of the Blue Supply Chains project, I'm really happy to welcome you to this webinar on the importance of infrastructure and policy support for rail ferries, or more precisely, for the last remaining rail ferry service in Europe. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Inga Gorius, and I'm a project manager at Port of Hamburg Marketing. It's a pleasure to kick off this session and to see so many of you joining us to discuss such an important topic, at least virtually, because this webinar is part of the Interreg Baltic Sea Region project that I mentioned before, Blue Supply Chains, which is all about making freight transport in the Baltic Sea region more sustainable and efficient, with ports always at the center of the conversation. A big focus of the project is the rail ferry case, which shows how ports and operators can work together to establish, protect, and improve efficient low-emission transport corridors. Of course, a lot has changed since we first drafted this project back in 2021, 2022, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine has had a huge impact on supply chains, trade routes, and transport strategies across Europe. As a result, the rail ferry connection has taken on an even greater strategic role, not just for commercial logistics, but also for resilience and security. And I won't give away too much just yet, but I think it's safe to say that this will be a key theme in our discussion today. Throughout this session, we'll dive into the challenges and opportunities facing rail ferry operations, especially the crucial role that port authorities and port operators play in making these services work. As the Blue Supply Chains project has highlighted, and as we are all aware of, ports aren't just transit points. They are key players in green logistics, working to integrate digital solutions, improve intermodal connections, and collaborate with policymakers to strengthen multimodal transport infrastructure. We will also look at the strategic importance of these services, both from a business and a military perspective, as well as the policies that could help secure their future. Now, let me quickly introduce our experts for today's discussion. First, we have, and we will start with the Blue Supply Chains partners. Mikko Jülich, Managing Director of Stena Line Germany, will share insights from the perspective of a rail ferry operator. Torgny Nielsen from the Port of Trelleborg and Dr. Gernot Tesch, Managing Director of the Port of Rostock, will bring in the port authority and port operator viewpoints. After their short presentations, we'll move into a panel discussion and Q&A moderated by Ralf Schulze, Director General of OERR. I really encourage you all to jump in, ask questions in the chat, and make this a lively conversation, as lively as it can get on Teams. And with that, I'll stop pretending that I myself am a rail ferry expert and pass things over to the real ones, the people who actually know this business inside and out. So thanks again for joining. Thanks to the organizers, and let's get started.
Yeah, thank you very much for the introduction. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here today to speak about Stena Line, but also the railway ferries from Rostock to Trelleborg. My name is Mikko Jülich. I'm the trade director on this route and same time managing director for Stena Line in Germany. Today we want to highlight the strategic importance of the railway ferry connection between Rostock and Trelleborg, which is a vital link for both freight but also passengers between Germany and Sweden. Our route is not just transportation, it's a key corridor in the European logistics. Every year, millions of tons of cargo and thousands of passengers rely to this direct link. To give you a quick overview in advance, what is Stena Line? We have prepared some slides to give you, first of all, some information about Stena Line. Could you jump to the next slide, please? Thanks. Yeah, we are a Swedish company, and it started 1939 when the company was founded. And I don't want to go to all these small details now, but still the values which were created a long time ago, caring for customers, for resources, and caring to each other is still valid and very much the DNA of Stena Line. Could you jump to the next slide, please? So what is Stena Line? Stena Line, we have in total 6,100 employees. We are operating 20 ferry routes. We own 6 ports. We have 40 vessels which some up to 33,000 yearly sailings. We have many energy-saving projects in the pipeline, carrying 2.1 million freight units, 1.8 million cars, 6.5 million guests, and this ends up in a turnover of 19 million SEK in total. In the freight unit, there is a railway wagons already included. We as Stena Line, we are a part of the Stena AB group, which in total numbers has 17,400 employees. There's a lot of divisions like Stena Drilling, Technique, RoRo, Property, Adactum, Finance, Assessment. So that means we are a part of this family, and there are some synergies, of course, between the divisions when building ships, when having technical support to make a proper operation. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the route network of Stena Line, and when you look to the left, so we have a new area where we are also focusing on between Spain and Morocco. Otherwise, we are very strong in the traffics in the North Sea and Baltic Sea. And today, of course, we want to focus more on the Rostock-Trelleborg corridor and not so much on the other connection. So this is the topic for today, I would say, and we are connecting here Scandinavia with Central and Eastern Europe. And we are an essential part in the supply chain for our customers. There are not so many railway alternatives you can see on this slide. So there's a fixed link, and we are the so-called second way. Means some customers, they follow this two-way strategy. They go partly with cargo via the link, but also using us, because we want to, of course, stay relevant. And the last 2 years, after the Ukraine invasion, there's a much higher focus on us, not at least because Sweden joined the NATO, but there's a more focus on this corridor than it has been the last years before. So from a business perspective, this route strengthens trade. It provides a direct, time-efficient alternative to the land-based transport and support industry that depend on fast, reliable logistics, such as automotive, retail, and manufacturing. We are investing in this corridor now also to make the vessels, let's say, ready for the next 10, 15 years in their life, and putting new engines in and some more modern technology that we can also go a bit on alternative fuels to make it also sustainable for a greener future. What we have, so we are going 6 times per day, 3 times in each direction, and we have a railway capacity of 1,000 lane meters per sailing. So this 1,000 lane meters, they are never fully used, but theoretically, there is the possibility to have this amount of volume on the vessel. We have also invested on AI on board to make the crossing with regard to energy consumption much more efficient. And also we are partly going on shore power already in Trelleborg, and we are working on solutions also to get it in Rostock in the coming years. In order maybe to visualize the whole setup a bit, we have prepared a short video. It only takes 1-2 minutes, but maybe it's good to see about what we are talking here and make it a bit more visible for you. Could you please start the video? Yeah, the sound.
Fix this in a second.
Yeah.
There you go.
Welcome to the port of Rostock. From here, our ferry route Rostock-Trelleborg connects Germany and Sweden up to 6 times a day. Our USP on this route: rail ferries. Our ferry's rail tracks up to 1,000 meters length. We can load a large variety of cargo: single wagons, full intermodal trains, project cargo, and much more. High and heavy cargo wagons of up to 178 meters length. A broad range of transport goods, consumer goods, white cargo, even dangerous goods and waste. Our service includes much more than just sea traffic. We carry out shunting operations to and from the ferry and act as an intermediary to the connecting rail operators. Rail ferries stay relevant in the long term. We offer the only alternative rail connection to the Öresund Bridge, a vital second link from Sweden to the continent. The closer Sweden, Germany and the rest of Europe cooperate, the more important our rail ferries become. Not only in business, but in security and defence matters. We are proud of our rail ferries from Rostock to Trelleborg, a flexible, standalone product for all railborne cargo, connecting Sweden and the continent more than 40 times per week. Rail via ferry. Your demand is our daily business. Get in touch.
So, welcome on board. So I think it's a good overview now to see what we are doing here, and yeah, also to see the importance of the corridor when it comes to freight transportation, but nowadays also from time to time military transportation. I think my time is gone. So thank you very much for listening in, and if there are further questions later on, please feel free to ask them.
Okay, Port of Trelleborg is the next one here, and my name is Torgny Nilsson. I've been working for the port for 12 years now, and then before that within the railway companies like Deutsche Bahn, DB Schenker, and before that also the Green Cargo daughter NTR, Nordisk Transport Rail. We are the second largest port in Sweden after Gothenburg. We are more or less a pure Euro port. That means we are only handling rolling cargo here. And we have 3 shipping lines in the port. It's TT line, and they have traffic from Trelleborg to Poland, to Germany, 2 ports, and also Klaipeda. And then Stena, as already mentioned, between Rostock and Trelleborg with 2 ferries, and then we have Unity line also. And the port is just looking for getting even more on rail, not only on the ferries, also intermodal, and we are working very hard to find new destinations. I think we have had a lot of success there now, so we are building them up. And the more rail that we can get, the more cargo we can move from the roads, the happier we are. You can take the next slide. I would like to talk a little bit our facilities here. This picture shows our two railway ferry berths. We have two of them, and they are not so old. One of them on the left-hand side, where you can see the Stena line ferry is docked at the moment, is built 2005, and the other one 2008. And we are very happy for them, because if something goes wrong with one of the ferry berths, we can always use the other ones. And sometimes we also have the both ferries in the port. On the right picture there, you can see some rail cars, some brown rail cars, so to say, going on board the ferry. And on the line, on the berth number 9, we can shunt with 2 locomotives at the same time. We have double tracks on that berth. And if we should get a situation as we are talking about now, we don't have the bridge anymore of any reason, but it can't work, then we can handle, we are able to handle then a 2 full-length train in 90 minutes if we are using 2 locomotives. So we can discharge and load at the same time. And that also sets a little bit focus on the rail yard, the marshalling yard that we have. So you can take the next picture there also, my last one. Here is one of the nice pictures from the back, where you can see right into the railway ferry. We are very happy for that, and there's a lot of people, they haven't seen it before. On the right hand here, we are loading one of those steel trains, as we used to say, the SSAB steel trains, coming up to 5 to 7 days per week, if I'm correctly informed. And we also have the empty rail cars back, and that's a very stable business that we have. We have also been now into discussions with this investigation. I think that it's known. It was launched by the Trafikverket last year. And it is about the future for the railway ferries. And Mikko Julic has already told that the ferries can get a lifespan expansion, so they can live 15 years more. Sweden, in opposite to Germany, is an island when it comes to the south part, and therefore I think the railway ferries are very important for Sweden as a country. So we do hope that we will see a good development also in the future. I'm not thinking just only about the 15 years, a time beyond that also. The marshalling yard now is also in a discussion within the Swedish administration, Trafikverket, and we don't know what comes out of that yet, because we are looking also to get more space for the intermodal development. But one of the discussion that has popped up is if we get a severe situation that we need to do as much as we can with the railway ferries, it's very important that we have a full-length train standby, and then also being able to take to discharge the one is coming. And then since we heard we have some 100 meters left on the ferry, that means that we can have one train here that we put into parts and build again up in Rostock, and we can do the same in the opposite. And then maybe it's possible to have about 8 full trains per day over this line between Trelleborg and Rostock. And something will be done, as I said. We will also get new tracks on the short stretch between Trelleborg and Malmö. That will be done 27. That will be totally modified. So we are crossing our fingers that we will stay very good prepared already before 30. As I said, I think I stop there at the moment now, and then we can take questions afterwards.
So, ladies and gentlemen, it's my turn now. Let me add a few sentences and a few slides only. My name is Gernot Tesch. I'm one of the managing directors of Rostock Port. So the opposite port to our good partner port, Trelleborg in Sweden, linked by our very good client Stena Line. Next slide, please. Yeah, starting with the port's basics, Rostock is Germany's biggest Baltic Sea port, a big multi-purpose port, able to handle all thinkable kind of goods and clearly visible. The access conditions, both from the seaside, with a very short distance to the open sea, and the land side, the motorways from Berlin and Hamburg, respectively, starting and ending in the port directly, are especially convenient from our point of view. Our deep water channel allows us to host the biggest vessels of the Baltic. Next slide, please. This is a view on the left-hand side on our ferry and Ro-Ro terminal. So around 50% of the port's cargo volume is handled here. And Ferry and Ro-Ro, that has been a real success story because Ferry and Ro-Ro, that has been a new business field for Rostock Port after the German reunification, 1990, and starting 1991 with a few thousand units annually. We are handling almost 600,000 units annually meanwhile. So on the right-hand side, it's our route network. Rostock offers a wide range of services to Sweden especially, but also to Finland, to Denmark and to Norway, and indirectly via Trelleborg also to Lithuania, which is in this combination, but especially with its frequency of 20 departures a day, is quite unique for a southern Baltic seaport. And if we go then to the next slide, please. We are now coming to our main topic, what makes Rostock really unique, however. Rostock is a traditional rail port with ample rail and shunting capacity, and that's heritage from the old communist time, because all the hinterland traffic of the port before 1990 was done via rail, not due to environmental reasons, but mainly due to lack of diesel. So we have a lot of railway capacity inside and outside the port. Just to provide you with some figures, we have 180 kilometers of rail just outside the port in the shunting station. You can see part of it on this slide, and we have additionally 55 kilometers of rail inside the port. And another advantage is, and that is not true for all the German ports, we have still ample capacity, both as far as road is concerned, but especially as far as rail is concerned. And furthermore, in order to be prepared for the requirement of the future, DB Infrago, formerly known as DB Netz, which is the infrastructure company of Deutsche Bahn, owning the railway network in Germany, they are doing it currently to invest 300 million euro, which is a considerable sum, in order to modernize the shunting yard and the railway facilities. Coming then to the next slide. That's a view on our intermodal terminal. So the intermodal terminal is well integrated in our Ro terminal, in our Ro port, enabling a short transit time from rail to the vessel and vice versa. The intermodal traffic has been clearly the growth driver in the recent years, and the growth has been tremendous as far as the figures is concerned or are concerned. So we have increased our annual volume on intermodal trains from 80,000 in 2019 to 130,000 in 2022. Even we have seen some decreasing figures since end of 23, but that will change in the coming years again in the positive direction. So therefore we are in the process of extending our intermodal capacity drastically. So we will lengthen the tracks, and we have already 740 meter long track available already. So on the right-hand side, I have mapped our current intermodal network together with our partner Port Trelleborg, and together that forms already a considerable network. However, we are always discussing together with Trelleborg to extend it. And our special focus is still on northern Italy, to Verona with 20 departures a week, crossing the Alps. But the growth of the traffic volume in recent years came from newly developed products to the southwestern direction, but especially to the southeastern direction. And from our point of view, Southeastern Europe, including the Western Balkan countries, that's where the future growth is coming from, and where we have the biggest chances to transfer accompanied lorry traffic to intermodal railway solutions. Next slide, please. So both Stena Line and the Port of Trelleborg, they have already described the railway system linking Trelleborg and Rostock in detail. So I might skip this slide in order to gain some minutes for the discussion. Yeah, that's, yeah. No. Going back one slide. Trelleborg, they have 2 ferry link spans for railway available. That's due to the history, because Trelleborg has been linked to both German railway ports, to Sassnitz, which was the traditional railway port in Germany, but also to Rostock. So we have only one berth, which makes our system a bit more vulnerable. However, we had to invest a lot of money in recent years already to keep the railway system workable and alive, also supported by EU money, and also with the commitment of our very good client and partner, Stena Line. This was the case both for the tracks and the railway switches connecting the general German railway network just outside the port with the railway link span. But in future, we also have to, in the near future, we have to invest a lot of money also into the tracks on the link span, directly. So that the next slide is only the last slide, and so I'm open for any kind of question. Please feel free to raise your hands.
Thank you very much to all of you. I'm Ralf Schulze, Director General of UIR, and I will try to lead you through the next half an hour on the topic of the importance of the infrastructure and the policy support on this very specific topic that we have today, which is rail ferries. There are not a lot of rail ferries anymore in Europe. There used to be much more, but still rail ferries can be very, very good to make out of the patchwork network and to link the ports with the floating infrastructure. I think this is what it is about. I think you just heard from the port's perspective in Trelleborg and Rostock what they did out of this project, and you heard from Stena Line that they are very keen to continue to develop and to invest into this quite innovative system. I must say it's quite unique, but it's part of the intermodal chain. And in terms of resilience and competitiveness, which are the new buzzwords in Brussels of the Commission, in order to achieve a clean industrial deal, I think these rail ferries can be really important. Let me introduce the panelists. We have with us Konstantinos Tsesmetsis, spokesman from the ScanMed corridor. We have again with us Mikko Jülich, Gernot Tesch, and Tony Nielsen. And we have with us Thomas Arvidsson, Colonel Gerd Dobbin, because we think that these rail ferries can also be integrated in the concepts of military mobility. And last but not least, we have Dr. Brinkmann from the German Ministry of Transport. I would like to ask with you, Konstantinos, you are from the ScanMed corridor, you are the spokesman. How can rail ferry be better integrated in your planning so to have a seamless corridor from north to south, integrating the Baltic Sea?
Yes, thank you. Just to be clear, first is Konstantinos and Costa is only me, is the same person, so you don't get any interruption there. And thank you. And a lot can be said about how we can integrate the rail ferry into our planning as a rail freight corridor. When I was invited to this webinar, I'm the spokesperson and the CRM manager, so I look after the customer and the market. So the market is really important for me. But I also took the opportunity to talk to my team, where we have the operation, we have the managing director, we have the communication, just to be sure that the ScanMed team, that we don't only give it on a market point of view, but also an operational point of view. So there are people that know more about the scheduling and coordination and how to deal with the regulatory and the government. But as a rail freight corridor, we are depending on a good cooperation with all our stakeholders. And we see that the Trelleborg and the Rostock Harbor is on our corridor. So when we are discussing this with our stakeholders, it's that we need to have everybody on board, not only the RUs that are using our PUBs, the pre-arranged PUB, but all the terminals, the ports, the freight forwarders, end customers, etc. Since we all are involved in the sustainability and the modal shift promotion. So one of the most important things as a market-oriented rail freight corridor is to listen to the market, use the market analysis to take use of the transport market study, the cost study that we have made in our freight corridor. But I think that the most important thing, not only to use the analysis, but to talk to the users, to the customer, and have them involved in and have their knowledge and brought to the table. So that is something that we strongly recommend and we like to discuss, and that is also with all the stakeholders and the customers now and all in the future. So when we are talking about the customers, is to bring them on an early stage, to inform them about the options they have as a customer, the key aspect to be integrated in the planning. And that is something that we would like to do with our RAG and TAG, Railway Advisory Group and Terminal Advisory Group. So to involve the ferry operators as an active participant in the planning and discussion and decision-making process. And also what we got from the operational part of ScanMed is that the capacity planning and contingency measures is also important to have that included. So the rail ferry capacity as a critical component is in the border capacity planning of the ScanMed to our operational team. So then we can develop contingency plans, rail and ferry, to manage disruption, such as weather-related delays, to maintain service reliability. And something more that it came out from the operational side and in our team is to have the real-time data integration. They need to develop a robust digital platform that can facilitate the real-time exchange. They also talked about the standardized data format to ensure their interoperability and the timely decision-making. Also discussed is the harmonized infrastructure and operation. It's also then to standardize procedures as intermodal transport point to ensure that the efficient loading, unloading, and quick transshipments are handled. More to that is that to make sure to have more integrated booking and tracking system. With that, it meant to have this implemented, so as a system covering both rail and the ferry segments. That can be for our shippers, the customer, is to have that end-to-end visibility. and of course to enhance the tracking capabilities to monitor cargo movement and respond quickly to an operational issue. So when we are talking inside how we can be a better planning, we can do that, and that is to include our customers in an early stage of the planning.
Thank you, Costa. Thank you very much for this perspective from the corridor management. Thank you for mentioning the market. Thank you for mentioning also digitalization as an important tool to bridge the ports, but not only the ports, but the entire door-to-door logistics chain. Let's come back to Mikko from Stena Line. You are the one linking the two ports. And can you tell us a little bit more after your nice presentation earlier? What was the key decision for you to expand the lifespan of the ferries, and what kind of policy support would be needed to promote rail ferries?
Yeah, for sure. I would say a couple of years ago, there was another discussion. Is a rail corridor really needed, and will it be relevant in a couple of years? But as the geopolitical world changed, we also changed internally, and we are very convinced that it will be relevant, even stronger in the future. So we decided, because such an investment, of course, you have to plan, and we have decided to invest a lot of money into these two ships to make them reliable also, which is very important to offer high quality to the customer. And we see that there will be more flows in the future by the railway ferry. Because of the geopolitical side, but also because there will be more transportation on the rail in the future. I mean, CO2 emissions reduction is one keyword here, from road to track or to sea. It's also another relevant point, and therefore we are very sure that the investment is right.
The investment is certainly right. And what kind of policy measures would be needed, Mikko? So where do you need support in order to take the maximum of efficiencies out of your system?
Yeah, this is always a chicken and egg discussion. Of course, we are not, I would say, 100% happy with the volumes we are carrying now. It would be, of course, good for our efficiency and product to have more railway flows here. But this needs to be built up now in the coming months and years to gain stable volume corridor here on the Rostock-Trelleborg route. So it's and of course the infrastructure is also very important, and we see already investments are done in Trelleborg and also in Rostock to make it, because we are only that good if the railway structure and infrastructure is okay. So we are very much depending on that. So, and this is very positive. But of course, we need more support from customers to make it, let's say, more interesting and profitable for us. Because at the moment, of course, the production, when you run railway ferries, I would say, is 20% more expensive than you run a normal Ro-Ro ship. So there's a higher cost base when you have railway ferries in the service. And when you just carry dominantly rubber cargo, then of course it's not that profitable. So we need more railway on that link.
Well understood. And like Costa, you also mentioned the importance of the market perspective, of the perspective of the customer, and of course also of the operations. So I understand we have a momentum for the chicken and the egg. Let's go to the port of Rostock again. Dr. Tesch, you mentioned already how you link the network on the mainland to the network on the Nordics. We are in times of a lot of disruptions. Have there ever been breakdowns in train traffic on the fixed land connection? And how useful is the two-way strategy? Will the Fehmarn Belt Tunnel change anything in the future?
Oh, yes, of course, there have been breakdowns on the land route in the past. However, this is, from my point of view, a normal situation, since in every technical system, there's a certain risk of certain events like accidents, breakdowns, and there's, of course, a normal need for maintenance work, etc., etc. And that's not the problem. That's a normal thing. The problem is only if there is no alternative route available during that time. And that is the case if that would be the case if there is no alternative ready between Rostock and Trelleborg, provided by Trelleborg, Rostock, and Stena line.
We need bypasses, yeah.
Yeah, so we need, yeah, that's the problem for the link. We should describe ourselves as bypass, meaning we are only used in case of problems. So we need to be used regularly. So we need stable volumes.
As part of the system, as part of the network, yeah.
Exactly, because if there is an accident, if there is planned maintenance work, unplanned maintenance work, disruption, so then it's not possible to take all the traffic from the fixed links. So we need to have stable volumes all over the year, and not only during 3 weeks of a year, because we need to plan, and Stena Line needs to plan their capacities also with the normal cargo clients operating via trailer and lorry. And you also mentioned the upcoming Fehmarn Belt
Yes.
fixed link. But as we are talking about Sweden, and Sweden is a relevant country for railway traffic, it's not Denmark. For Denmark, of course, it would be become a good alternative for the passenger traffic, let's say for Hamburg, Copenhagen, for instance, and shortening also the distance between Hamburg and Copenhagen. But from my point of view, that's the only benefit of this fixed link. Because for Sweden, the situation will not change with the Fehmarn Belt link, since the potential bottleneck, and the main potential bottleneck, is still the Öresund. And the Öresund, they need to carry more intermodal trains, need to carry more long distance passenger trains, but also the local commuter traffic between Skåne and Sjælland. So the Öresund is and we experience it currently. Every infrastructure is a vulnerable thing, and like any underwater pipeline, any underwater sea cable, also a fixed link is attackable. So we need more than one alternative in order to avoid that Sweden is becoming an island from a railway perspective.
Let me ask you the same question then to Stena Line. You know that the Swedish government commissioned Trafikverket to investigate the necessity and framework conditions for maintaining the rail ferry service and to identify possible support measures. Has the German government initiated something similar? I know we have a new government before Easter, but what kind of political and financial support is needed?
Yeah. And this is exactly the point. So the Sweden government is, of course, much more focusing on the importance of this corridor. When talking to politicians in Berlin, it's, of course, a bit different picture. So, yeah, we are in continuous talks there, but there is no any support for the moment. And of course, it has to do with the election latest. But we will continue, of course, discussions also to get, in a way, whatever support from the German side. But it's not the number one topic for the German government.
It's clear. And from your perspective, Gernot, from the port perspective, what financial support is needed in the port?
That's difficult to say, because it's always very easy to ask for taxpayers' money. So,
yeah.
But the problem is not only the fixed link competition. It's also, you know, when these link span has been erected, the link span has been erected in view of to carry 50,000 units annually, but due to the very stiff, and from my point of view, also not very fair competition from the fixed links, the number is in good years 20,000. So there are a lot of units missing, and that is not, we are not blaming Stena Line for it. It's difficult to compete with a state-owned traffic system and for a private operator. And the other thing is the risk is higher for any port, because a normal link span for ferry and ro-ro traffic can be used by hundreds of vessels, by every possible ro-ro and ferry vessel, whereas very specialized railway ferry link span can be used by 2 vessels only. And the names are Mecklenburg-Vorpommern and Skåne. And so the connected risk for the port is much higher than when investing into the normal link span. And of course, we need a certain kind of support. I do not know what kind of support. We are receiving already financial support for infrastructure investments. However, somebody has to take the additional risk, as the state is taking over the risk also for the fixed links. We just need a kind of, what is it? A level playing field. Yeah. So we need a kind of equality of arms with the fixed links.
So we need first. What I retain is we need first of all more ferries of the kind, and we need to use our efficiencies and to be as efficient as possible in order to be competitive. Thank you very much, Tony. From the Trelleborg's point of view, how complex are operations with rail ferry berth is one question, and the other question would be, in case of emergency, what role can rail ferry take for Swedish military strategy, as Sweden is in NATO now? Tony.
Yes, the complexity is not that much. It can be a little bit, especially in the mornings when we have a lot of ferries coming there, because we are cutting off the way out of the port. But we will find a solution as soon as we get a new entrance to the port. You know, we have moved the port the last 12, 14 years now, so we are almost completed now. What's missing now is the entrance to the port from the east side. And unfortunately, when all the tracks are coming in the morning, they have to wait a little bit if we have railway on the vessel coming also in the morning. But the complexity, no, it's not so complex. I mean, we have very good equipment for that. As I said, we have the possibility. We haven't done it yet, but we can use 2 locomotives together at the same time in our berth number 9. And that's also very important if we should come to a very narrow situation.
That's good to know for the customers. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thomas Arvidsson, you're chairman of the Swedish International Freight Association. You're a member of the European Economic Social Committee. What is your perspective on these rail freight connection as alternative to bridges, and what can be reported from Trafikpaket?
I should also add that I'm chair in Sweden for the preparedness sector transport for private-public cooperation. I should comment then on that issue later. But first of all, let's see it as it is. From many years in the timeline past the Annan, it was said that the rail freight sector should have 2 years in advance before the Annan you let on the road traffic in the Fehmarn Belt fixed connection. It's not going to be like this. We know that 2029 you open both the Annan to track and also the Annan the road. The problem is the Annan is not the capacity over the Öresund and the Öresund bridge. The capacity, course, until 2050, we don't see the Annan any need for another Annan connection over Öresund. The problem is the infrastructure in southern Sweden on the rail side and also in the northern Germany, that you have been too extreme slow progress in more investment. Secondly, also, from the beginning then, and theoretically, you have a capacity then and via in the existing and via Fehmarnbelt fix connection with 3 trains each hour, each direction, 2 via the tunnel and 1 via the existing line via Jutland. Fine. The problem is the lack of investment in northern Germany, the lack of investment in southern Sweden, and also then on the plans for more than an increased traffic in Greater Copenhagen and on Sealand and with local and regional trains. And also then, and you have also some plans then for more increasing the regional trains in southern Sweden, then, and also of course then in northern Germany. All this mixed up. It's not that we have a capacity of 3 750-meter trains each hour, in each direction. Secondly, then, is it wiser to have 2 tools in your box than 1? Because planned or unplanned, you're going to have then and have some stop in the operation via the Öresund Bridge or via the new Fehmarnbelt then and fixed connection due to planned maintenance or then on unplanned maintenance or accidents. We know that. We have seen it the last 15 years coming regularly. So putting out that you normally said that going down on a freight train via the rail ferry is 25% more expensive. Yes, single looked in silo, it's correct. But if you look to the whole scope, then and you have a different situation depending on which logistic solutions then and you're achieving to. I noticed that the German government, when you revised the TN directive, wanted to move in then on the rail specific rail ferry techniques then and in the TN regulation, but they didn't achieve. Sweden was silent. Now Sweden has made an inquiry then under the Swedish Trafikverket, and it's now on the government's table then and to decide then on what to do then. And just as we talk then, and there are then discussions inside then and different then and ministers inside the Swedish government. Secondly, then, I should see then an enormous then an advantage of a modernized then and rail ferry logistic solutions, also in combination then and with reserve berths in our harbor then and in south and western Sweden. But that's another issue then, and according then and not only to military mobility, also then and to secure then and the population's need then for supply, and also then and to get out then on products to have the economy on running if we have then a situation where, for example, you made a note in northern Baltic Sea then and you don't get access to the South Finnish ports. So yes, we need this lifeline. We should not lost it. And I should also be a little bit formal, because I'm acting speak person for terminal and harbors inside the Scandinavian corridor. You actually have one more rail ferry operation in Europe, and it's between Sicily and the Italian mainland. And also you have a rail ferry running between Poland and the port of Ystad in southern Sweden, but the rail operation on that ferries are only ad hoc. So now my
Thank
time
you
is
for
up.
these. Thank you for this enlightenment. I think the Sicily ferry is very famous, but I think the one really we are talking about today is the one between Trelleborg and Rostock, and what you want to understand is whether it is a good momentum to prepare the future. And one topic that came on top of all the other topics is, of course, military mobility, and we have one expert with us today. It's Colonel Gerd Dobben from EEAS, and here military mobility is something we are talking in Brussels about since some years. There are some financial instruments. The action plan was elaborated, but at the end there were limitations, and this is why the European Court of Auditors drafted recommendations to improve it. And one problem raised, for instance, was the fact that the fund to support dual-use infrastructure, so military and civil, was already depleted since 2023, although it should have covered the time span of the MFF 2021-27. So now a new MFF is prepared, and I would like to give the floor to Colonel Gert Dobben.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me in this audience. I hope everyone can hear me. I'm working in Brussels on the topic military mobility, and if we are looking at military mobility from an EU perspective, it's twofold. It's first to cover our common security defense policy missions and operations, but that's mainly outside EU territory. And secondly, military mobility is within EU soil when it comes to the preparation of large-scale movements through Europe, and that's what we are talking about. In this perspective, we have a focus on a couple of things when it comes to military mobility on EU soil. First of all, we need to increase our capacity, and that means all the EU member states for strategic deployment. So when it comes to the large-scale movements, we have to increase our capacity for movement and transport. And that means we need to increase the numbers of aircrafts, trucks, railway wagons, and ships, mainly ro-ro, but also other types of ships which can move large numbers of military equipment. And we have to look into that combination because we cannot all move the forces by road. We cannot do it only by rail. We cannot only do it by ship. So we have to look into the combination. First of all, because we have a large number of movements ahead of us, but also because we have to look into the vulnerability and the resilience of the respective networks. Just for your information, if we are looking to all the NATO troops that have to move from west to east or from south to north when it comes to a large conflict, and then we are talking about roughly 1,200 kilometers head to tail of green vehicles from Antwerp to Warsaw. And then that means that there is no possibility of one civil vehicle to put that on the road. And in terms of lane meters, it will be 1.2 million lane meters that covers then the road of Antwerp to Warsaw. So capacity is one thing. The assets, we should make the combination because we don't have the availability of 500 ro-ro ships, for example, because that's what we're talking about. We don't have the availability of 2,000 trains of more than 600 meters, and we don't have the availability of all the large numbers of trucks we need to move the troops from A to B. So the combination is really keen, and in that vein, it is very important to have, for example, a port where we can load or unload vessels and in combination with trains, but also roads that leads to ports, roads that are good to go not only for trucks, but also for oversized vehicles like main battle tanks. As you might know, they are a little bit larger and wider than the average truck on the road. So it's very keen to have the combination, and in that vein, it's very, very important to have ports that are accessible for rail transport, and the other way around, to have rail ferries that are able and capable of moving large numbers of military equipment.
Thank you.
For the time being, I would leave it by this.
Very good.
To questions.
Thank you, Gert. Unfortunately, it's already 3 o'clock, so the time is over. But it was a very, very important insight because we are heading difficult times in terms of military, and we have to be prepared in terms of logistics. So again, as I said in the beginning, let's try to come from the patchwork and to build networks, to build systems. We have a future-proof of this system that can be integrated in all the door-to-door chains. We have real alternatives for the integrated logistics, and I think it's important again to repeat that we need a market perspective and we need operations perspective, and again, this floating infrastructure can be ideally integrated. I would like to thank you all the panelists. So thank you to Costa, thank you to Mikko, to Gernot, to Tony, to Thomas, and to Gert. I understand that Dr. Brinkmann was not able to come. I think it was extremely interesting, and I give back to Inga.
Well, my only job today is also thank UIR and SGKV for hosting and organizing this event. And with these words, close for today.
Thank you very much, Inga, and we'll make a lot of publicity in our CT for Europe, Combined for Transport, in our campaign for Combined Transport for Europe, because this will be a starting point, a next starting point, and there will be other interesting webinars to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.